Today we are going through all of the things that I've made since Alice was born. Welcome back to my knitting channel. My name is Nadine. You can hear my assistant off screen, Alice. She will be helping us with today's video by hopefully staying nice and calm in her playpen off to the left. On this channel you can expect to hear me talking about my knitting from the perspective of a warm weather knitter who's now moved to London and is experiencing cold weather for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but you know what I mean. It's a different climate. So I've got, I don't even know how many things, but I'm just going to run through perhaps the finished objects first, and then I'll show you my whips. And then I want to do another video after that, which will be yarn acquisitions, because I did treat myself to some yarn after reading your comments, and project plans, because I do have a couple that I really want to look at. So let's see how that goes. Before we jump in though, I just wanted to say genuinely thank you so much for all of your comments on my first video back. It was absolutely lovely. Yes, it was lovely to read all of your comments and just to hear a little bit about your experiences after you had your babies, or even just to chat with some of you again. I saw some of the same names that I used to always see, and it's just so nice to know that there's so many nice people who watch my videos. It's a lovely community we have here. And I've even managed to catch up with a couple of you in person. Thank you so much to those of you who made the effort to come out and visit with me. It's been super nice getting to know you. Okay, on to the knitting. So, where to start? Okay, we are back. And I think she's even going to let me talk without waking up. I'm just speaking very softly, and hopefully my microphone can hear me and I can turn it up in post. Okay, I don't remember where I was. I think I'll just cut out what I've already said about my projects, and I'm going to start again. And I'm going to start with my whips because they're what I'm most excited about right now. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so number one is right here. So it is just a really simple jumper that I'm making for Alice, and I decided to use a pattern that I'm super familiar with, so it isn't really a challenge for my two remaining brain cells who are not on speaking terms. And I've just kind of added in some modifications for a bit of jazz as I went along. So I'll tell you what the modifications are, and they'll work equally well on an adult size pattern if you're interested in doing that. So what I did is I just took the Flax pattern by Tin Can Knits, which is, by the way, my general recommended kind of vanilla sweater pattern, because it goes from all ages, from infant all the way up to like XXXXL or something like that. I don't know. It's a very inclusive pattern. So I'm knitting Alice, I think the 12-month size, and I'm using the yarn that I had left over from my August cardigan. So I was knitting on a hat that I'm making out of it in my last knit and chat, same yarn. I had a ball left over, so I just started on this and I thought I'd see how far I get. So the only modifications I've made are, instead of the garter panel down the sleeves, which is what the Flax pattern is kind of famous for, I did a seed pattern instead, and I continued it all the way down the cuff. So if you can see around the back, it is actually rib, but I kept that same seed stitch pattern around there just for a bit of interest. So from the back it kind of looks like a normal sleeve stockinette up to ribbing, but then from the front you've got the, how do I know this way? You've got the stockinette up to ribbing on the sides and then the seed all the way down the bottom. So then I did the same thing at the bottom. It's unblocked, so it's a bit crinkled. Hopefully that comes out in blocking. But I did seed stitch down the bottom instead of ribbing. And I also, starting from the stitches that I cast on from for the underarm, goodness me, it's so small it's hard to get it to sit right. I did a seed stitch panel, just for those stitches that I cast on for the underarm all the way down the bottom. So for this it was 6 stitches that I cast on for the underarm, so those became the seed stitch panel for the body. And then down the bottom I did a similar thing to my rabumpulus, in that I did a little split hem. Sorry, I haven't woven in the ends yet and it's a bit hard to see the dark colour, but I did a split hem so the front is just a little bit shorter than the back, and I thought that would be really cute. And I did the short rows and everything, so it's like a proper little jumper. So it's really cute. If I could go back and start it again, knowing that I was going to do the seed stitch panels down the side, I would have read ahead in the pattern a little bit when I cast on the the neckline. I would have cast on the collar, maybe is a better way to say that. I would have read ahead to figure out which stitches were going to be the seed, what was the garter panel. And I would have started with seed stitch here, so that it was kind of a continuous panel all the way down the sleeve to the cuff, and the collar would kind of replicate this cute little detail on the sleeves. Because I didn't want to do a whole seed stitch collar, because I like the way the ribbing kind of draws in the neckline a little bit. I think that's really nice, but I think having a tiny bit of seed stitch on the side would have just added a bit of interest and still would have preserved the kind of elasticity of the ribbing. So if you end up trying that, let me know, because I'm interested to see how that would look. It's like minimum effort everything. I did not change down to a smaller needle size for the ribbing, so it looks a little messy. I don't care. I didn't change down to ribbing a smaller needle for the ribbing on the arm. My increases, my little raglan increases, are not perfect. There are definitely some where because you know how you're supposed to alternate, so kind of one row even, one row increases, one row even. Oh yeah, so I totally messed up the increases, and I kind of just got to the end of where I was supposed to finish the increases and then counted the stitches in each step, which is one of the things I love about the tin can knit patterns, by the way. They kind of have like an end of every section, it's this many stitches per sleeve, this many stitches for the front, this many stitches for the back. So you can kind of check it off and be like, okay. So I think I did 1 or 2 extra rounds, just adding in an extra stitch here and there where I had missed it, which was really handy. And they also do, like, instead of saying knit another however many rows where you need to kind of knit to a certain length, they'll say knit to a certain length, so you can easily substitute in your own gauge or just measure, and it doesn't matter if your gauge is a little bit off from the pattern, and I just love that. Anyway, so I'm nearly done. I'm so excited. I actually cast this on pretty much after filming my last video, when I saw all your lovely comments and I was filled with creative energy again. So the difficult thing is that I have, is this the front? Yeah. I've gotten to here on the second sleeve and I have this much yarn left. And I don't think I really even have to try to know that I'm going to lose this game of yarn chicken. So the question becomes, what do I do to finish this sleeve? I have a couple options. Option the first is take this hipster hat that I was knitting on in the last knit and chat, which has just been kind of like a little whatever easy project to do. I could kind of unwind it and use whatever's here on the rest of that sleeve and then do a two-tone hat with just some other random yarn that I can find. The difficult thing is that I can't be bothered. Isn't that bad? I just can't be bothered. Because I would have to kind of take it off this little tubing, tink it back or rip it back, estimate how much yarn I need, and I can't be bothered. So I think I'm just going to use a different yarn, which is the other option. And I did manage to find some yarn, which I'll show you in the next video. But basically, I'm thinking I'm going to just, yeah, different colour, whatever goes well with blue. Just keep knitting and finish off this little sleeve in a different colour. Do I care that this little sweater is going to have a slightly different coloured sleeve? Not at all. This has been kind of one of the positives, I think, of coming out of this whole postnatal depression. Got a bit too excited. I just don't really care about doing things perfectly anymore. If it gives me a shred of joy, I'm gonna do it. And I think it might be cute to use like a kind of contrast bright colour on this sweater. And just, you know, it'll just be a little design tweak. We'll say it was on purpose. And then I was thinking to kind of tie in that random extra colour, I want to use a crochet hook and maybe the same contrasting colour or a different colour. I don't care. Whatever colour catches my eye, I guess. I want to use a crochet hook and just kind of like freehand some designs onto it. And that was inspired by a couple photos that I saw from a brand here in London that I hadn't seen in Australia. And I'll pop those pictures on screen. And yeah, I just want to kind of like doodle like maybe some stars, a little love heart maybe. And it won't be perfect, but it'll be super cute, I think. Hopefully. And if I like it, I might make myself a bigger version of it because it's just kind of fun. Like, why not? It's so funny, that same kind of philosophy has bled into how I've decorated this new house, because all of our stuff was back in Australia. And I think in Australia I was just very, you know, controlled. Everything was exactly how I liked it. Clean surfaces, very sleek, homey but sleek. I'm embracing the chaos here, and it's the same sort of thing. If I see something and I'm like, that's cute, I love it, I'm just buying it, and I don't care if it doesn't match. So, for example, back home, everything was in kind of like, not beige, but kind of neutrals, like navy, white, light wood. Here I've got flower patterns on my carpets in the kitchen. I've got bright purple towels. I've got a bath mat that says "Get naked" because it made me laugh. Anyway, off track. So I think that's what I'm going to do to finish this off. And I'm excited about it. I think it'll be really cute. Okay, next whip quickly before we wake up. So this is another one where it was just kind of this idea that popped into my head, and I was like, yes! And I had to cast it on even though I didn't really have any yarn. I definitely didn't have the right size needle, and it was just a bit of an experiment. I think I ripped it out and started again about another 5 times. But it's a Sophie scarf, but it's a 2-tone Sophie scarf. Okay, let's see if this will be my last filming location for the day. I'm officially in Alice's playpen. She's eyeing off the computer. So, it's a Sophie scarf. I don't know if I said that. It's a Sophie scarf. And it's a super simple little change that turns it into this kind of contrast edge sort of pattern. I think I'm going to do a separate video, kind of like my first proper tutorial on how to do it, because I think once you see the steps, it's so simple, even for someone like me who's really not great at color work or things like that. But I think it makes such a difference visually. This is a prototype, so you can see that it's it's got some flaws. For example, here you can see is where I met up with some friends and did some knitting, and I got so excited that my tension changed. But I love it. So this is kind of my latest obsession. That's the wrong side, so you can kind of see the increases. See it there and there, which makes it kind of easy to count your rows as well. Yeah, so I'm going to finish that off and then see if I can remember how I did it and make a video, because I think you guys would love it. It's very addictive, and just means that you can use up even more of the little bits and pieces in your stash. Ooh, hello, bub. Yeah, and it's just kind of like there's only these ends, and that's only if you change colors midway through, which I did because I ran out of yarn. So yeah, it's really not difficult, but quite pretty, and I'm excited to see it kind of properly on with kind of different colors coming at the front. And I think, is that the end of my whips? Maybe not, but anyway, on the same topic, I made a different Sophie scarf. And this was using the yarn that I loved from my West Knits knit along. Bobby. It's the colour that I loved from the West Knits knit along shawl, which I'd said before that I didn't really love. I've completely reversed my opinion on that. It's my favourite thing right now. And in this weather, I use it as a kind of pram cover for Alice, or I'll throw it around my neck, particularly when I want to go to like a knitting group or something, because I feel like it's very technically complex. So I feel very advanced. But anyway, I loved this colour, which was my colour 1 from the shawl, and because I didn't do the final step of the shawl, I had some leftovers, and so I just did that whole halfway, like weigh the ball, knit to halfway. This is so chaotic, I'm so sorry. Knit to halfway and then start your decreases, and I love the way the speckles came out. This is one from Skein Sisters in New South Wales. The colour is ethereal, and the line is called Romance, and it's a merino silk blend. And the speckles are just gorgeous. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. And this was kind of what sparked that jewel coloured one. Alice, shoo. My baby. This is what sparked the idea for that two-toned one, because I thought, I love this pattern, but I'd love it if there was just a little bit more to it. So I'm kind of half of a mind to start a series where I kind of hack the Sophie scarf as far as I can, just push the pattern as far as I can with different textures and different colours, and I just thought it might be a fun little adventure, a fun challenge to see how many ways you can change the Sophie scarf but still use the shape, which I think is the thing that is, well, the best thing about the Sophie scarf is just how simple the pattern is. So yeah, excited about that. Alice, I don't know what keys you're pushing, darling. Okay, so moving right along. We have, I think this counts as a whip still or an FO. because I've kind of given up on it. This is the teddy pants from Petite Knit. I didn't do the face on the front because I just wanted it to be done. I thought it was going to be a really fun pattern, and it was, until about here, where I managed to follow the instructions for the front where the back should be, and vice versa, and I could not be bothered ripping it back. That was just not happening. So it was an absolute nightmare to then follow the pattern, because the Petite Knit patterns I found are written in such a way that you have to be following them exactly for them to make sense. So the number of stitches that you pick up along the side, it's not a pick up rate, it's just a certain number of stitches that you pick up. And I couldn't do that because I was, how do I say, making it up as I went along, because I had made a mistake that I wasn't willing to go back and correct. So I think I ripped out these side bits and the ribbing a number of times. It definitely would have been easier to just go back and rip it out and start again, but of course I didn't do that. So I think this works now, but it was so frustrating to do from here up. Here down, super fun, loved it. Loved doing little pants. It was a different construct. I haven't done pants before, so very fun. The thing that I'm stuck on now is the poppers, because the tops are finished with poppers. You're supposed to do 3 for each side. I've done 2 on this side, 1 on this side, and have given up. Because I hate finishing. I don't love it as much as I love knitting. So in the 3 seconds of spare time that I have, I want to knit. I don't want to sew on poppers. So this has been done for ages, and she still hasn't worn it because I haven't done the poppers. I really should just do it, shouldn't I? Maybe I can do. I just don't want to do it when I'm in with Alice and she's awake, because, you know, the small pieces and sharp needles and all that sort of thing. But I really should just finish it because she's going to be too big to wear it soon. And it's actually getting cold enough that she could wear it. So yeah, I really should. The yarn that I used was stash yarn. So this colour along the edges was West Yorkshire sock yarn in, I think, fairy candy floss or something like that. And the body was another stash yarn I had that I'm struggling to remember. I think it was a drops yarn that had some alpaca in it. I'll have a Google and see if I can find which yarn it was. It's very soft, so I think it will be nice. And I'm kind of picturing this with just a little white onesie underneath, which I think is a really cute outfit. And maybe I'll freehand some patterns on this one as well if I want to. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about that one. So because I enjoyed making the pants so much, I replicated them. I made some more pants for Alice. And this was again using some stash yarn. I don't think I could remember what it's called for the life of me. But it's sock yarn. It's supposed to be colour changing sock yarn. And all I did was I just followed the instructions for the teddy pants, or the suit, or whatever it is. I just followed it for the up until about here, and then I completely forgot to do the short rows. I did intend to do the short rows to get over that nappy bump. I didn't. It's fine. And then I just changed to smaller needles and did ribbing. I was going to go even higher so that you could fold it down and she could wear it for ages. But I wanted to be done with it because I wanted to knit the next thing. So I just cast off here. And I was going to do a stretchy bind off as well, because then I figured, again, she could wear it even longer. And again, I didn't want to, so I didn't. So it's just a normal... You right, baby? It's just a normal cast off. So he's standing. Look at you. You're so strong. So anyway, it won't stretch as much as it would have with a stretchy bind off, but that's okay. And it is, I think, a bit big. So if you wanted to do the same sort of thing for a different baby in your life, I just do this because I like getting use out of the patterns that I buy. So I figured this is instructions for pants basically, right? But if I made them again, I think I would decrease the number of stitches kind of coming out of the legs. I think the teddy pants have a bit of ease around the body because they have then the overall strap type things to hold them up. So this is a bit loose around the waist, even with the ribbing. So I think that's the only change I would make. But I thought they were really cute. It's kind of like knitting socks. I think I was thinking of making another pair, and I think I would make the legs 2 at a time, and then join them together. And I think that would be a more enjoyable way to make them. So yeah, they're cute. I like them. And they look cute on Alice. So I have 2 other finished objects that I can't show you. So I made my sister's baby, Nate, a beanie or a toque or a hat right before I left Australia, just before he was born. And again, it was in stash yarn, and I'd have to wait for my stash to arrive to tell you what the details are. But I'll put a photo up. Cher said that I could put a photo up. Hi, baby. Does he look so sweet in it? I did a kind of forest green colour, and it was a drops pattern, I think, a free drops pattern that looks kind of like the hipster hat, which I did because the Deanie beanie that I made for my brother-in-law is the hipster hat. So I thought it would be super cute if Nate had kind of a matching one, and it turned out really cute. So that was really nice, and just a really quick little pattern to whip up. And then finally, the only other finished object I have to talk about is one that's in the shipping container coming from Australia. So I might wait till it gets here to tell you about it, because I haven't blocked it. I haven't even really properly tried it on. But it is a really special project because I started it when I was still pregnant, and then that was the project that I picked up when the psychologist mentioned that I should start knitting again. So yeah, it's a bit of a sentimental piece. So I hope it looks as good on as it does, like to match the kind of sentimental value. That would be great. I still need to get buttons for it actually. So I'll have to have a look around for some buttons for it as well. And that was the Maggie vest, which I knit in Drops Bell, which is a kind of linen viscose cotton sort of blend from memory. And it was in the colour Off-White. And I kind of I liked the yarn. I found it a little bit splitty, but overall not bad. The only really disappointing thing was that it had some dark marks in it. So anyway, that's a real shame, but I haven't blocked it yet. So I'm hoping that if I use some wool wash, the dark spots might come out, because yeah, that's kind of the only downside to that yarn. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, I think I'm gonna end the chaos there for now. If Alice cooperates, she didn't last time, as you might have picked up. I'll see if I can do my yarn acquisitions and project plans video. But otherwise, I look forward to talking to you again later. I'm so sorry as well that I can't answer as many of your comments as I would usually. It's just that my life's a bit different now. But I love reading them. I read every single comment, and I wish I could reply to all of them. But I don't want to spend too much time with Alice on my phone, which is already pretty challenging because that's my lifeline to the outside world. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you don't mind the chaos. That's the only way I'm going to film these days, I think. I would love to hear from you in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're knitting on at the moment, because I'm looking for ideas for my next projects, always. And yeah, I'll talk to you in the next video.